On a night meant to celebrate Kendrick Lamar's long-awaited return to Australian festival stages, something unexpected happened. Something no one in the field of soaked grass and shivering ponchos could have predicted. A moment that would rewrite the entire story of Spilt Milk 2025. Because in front of tens of thousands of drenched, muddy, ecstatic fans, Doechii, the breakout star from TDE, did not simply perform. She took the festival. She owned the moment. And she did something unthinkable at an event built around one of the greatest rappers of his generation. She stole the show. Welcome to celebrity rap life, where the red carpets never roll up and the spotlight never fades. The rewards are legendary. Because in celebrity rap life, every downfall can become a comeback, and every headline tells a deeper story. Hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a second of what's coming next. The rain smacked down on Ballarat as if it had been hired as a headliner. The sky had been threatening all week, and by the time festival day arrived, it fully committed. Thunder rolled. The wind snapped through the trees like a warning. Even then, the crowd marched toward Victoria Park as if summoned. There was no fear and no hesitation. Just the promise of a lineup that looked too unreal to be true. Spilt Milk was supposed to be finished. It wasn't supposed to rise again after the wave of cancellations that swallowed multiple Australian festivals over the past few years. But here it was, alive, loud, and on the brink of delivering something nobody expected. People still remembered how strong the 2023 edition had been. Post Malone, Latto, Dom Dalla. It was a lineup so massive that it felt like the festival had peaked. When the following years introduced rising touring costs, unpredictable weather, shaky sponsorships, and a still recovering post-pandemic fan economy, the writing was on the wall. Australia's festival scene was collapsing, and Spilt Milk quietly slipped into the same silence as the events that came before it. Fans assumed it was gone forever. So when the announcement dropped in late 2024 that Spilt Milk was returning in 2025, people were stunned. Nobody knew what to expect. Was the festival making a desperate attempt to re-enter the game, or was it ready to reclaim its place as one of the biggest youth events in the country? The answer came in the lineup. It was a statement. It didn't tiptoe. It walked straight into the spotlight with its chest out. Doechii, Genesis Owusu, Dominic Fike, Somber, Schoolboy Q, Nina Geraci, and towering above them all, Kendrick Lamar. It was the kind of lineup that silences skepticism. It felt like a roar, a dare, a reminder that if Spilt Milk was coming back, it was coming back swinging. Tickets sold out in hours, faster than ever before. Australia didn't just want a win. Australia needed one. The festival became a symbol of that hunger. It was more than entertainment. It was hope. But then came the storm. Sheets of rain drenched the festival route into Ballarat. Cars struggled on the wet roads. Ponchos flapped violently. Security teams huddled around walkie-talkies trying to decide if the weather was going to cross the threshold of danger. It never did. It danced on the line and stayed there. Enough to make the festival miserable, but not enough to stop it. Fans arrived soaking wet, cold, and buzzing with anticipation. The mud swallowed sneakers and boots, but the energy refused to die. People kept moving forward. They wanted to witness something, even if they didn't know exactly what it would be yet. As they entered Victoria Park, the atmosphere shifted. The combination of rain, mud, bass vibrations, and thousands of people pressing toward the stages created the kind of electricity that festivals dream about. There are nights when things go perfectly, and nights when things go chaotically. And sometimes those chaotic nights create the most unforgettable memories. Spilt Milk was shaping into one of those nights. Early sets warmed up the crowd. Rebecca Black delivered confidence and theatrics. The Ryans brought melody and charm. Somber added a burst of unexpected energy. Spirits lifted despite the weather. People kept dancing even as mud collected along their ankles. And then in the late afternoon, Schoolboy Q stepped on stage and altered the festival's entire pulse. He came out with a grin, wearing the swagger of someone who knows exactly how good he is. His set was a wildfire. He jumped between early 2010s favorites that sent Gen Z and millennials screaming into the sky. He blended them with fresh cuts from his 2024 album Blue Lips. The crowd was drenched but jumping. Every bar landed sharp and crisp. Every transition felt smooth. He wasn't trying hard. He didn't need to. He was a veteran working a massive crowd as easily as breathing. His confidence washed over the festival like a warm wave, and for the first time all day, the rain felt secondary to the music. Q lit the fuse. And Dominic Fike handled the handoff perfectly. As he took the stage after Q, the mood shifted. Fike's presence created a softer, gentler energy. His set felt like a warm blanket thrown over the crowd. It was melodic and emotional, built on guitars, piano, charm, and the disarming honesty he carries in his voice. As the sun dropped behind the trees and the festival lights glowed against the dripping branches, the crowd sang along with him. White keys. 3 nights. Misses. Thousands of voices rising into the wet air, blending into a massive chorus. Halfway through his set, he paused to talk to the audience and delivered a line that instantly became one of the night's most repeated quotes. He said he would let Kendrick come and do his thing, that he was just here to say hi and let everyone know he wasn't in jail. The field erupted. You could feel the anticipation tighten. Kendrick Lamar. The main event. The reason some people had traveled hours through a storm. But before Kendrick could appear, someone else was about to reshape the night entirely. The lights changed. The team reset the stage. And in the brief window after Dominic Fike walked off, Doechii walked on. At that exact moment, Spilt Milk changed forever. From the instant she stepped onto the stage, something in the atmosphere snapped into a different frequency. Doechii did not enter like a supporting act or a warm-up performer. She did not carry the energy of someone filling the schedule before the headliner. She walked out with the presence of a headliner herself. The lights dropped. DJ Miss Milan unleashed a pounding bassline. Smoke burst across the stage, mixing with a swamp-themed set design filled with deep green lights, monstrous vines, eerie silhouettes, and mist that twisted around her feet. It looked like she ripped an entire world from her imagination and placed it directly onto the Spilt Milk stage. The crowd's reaction was instantaneous. A massive, unfiltered scream. People recognized the moment the same way animals sense weather. Something big was happening. Everyone had heard the rumors after her surprise appearance at Kendrick's Thursday night show at AAMI Park. People expected boldness. They expected fire. But no one expected a complete transformation. Doechii exploded into her first song with full-force energy. Every movement was precise. Every note landed. Every facial expression matched the attitude of the music. Her choreography snapped like electricity. Her vocals soared above the wind and rain. It felt like watching an artist step into the full power of her stardom in real time. The performance wasn't growing into greatness. It arrived already formed. And then she shocked the crowd even more. She performed Anxiety. It was a song she had skipped during her AAMI Park appearance. Fans wondered why she left it out earlier in the week. But on this night, in this storm, in front of this massive crowd, she let the opening notes ring out. The reaction was immediate. The entire field lunged forward. People screamed the lyrics. Phones shot into the air. The energy spiked into something raw and unrestrained. It felt like a release, not just a performance. Every detail added to the magnitude of her moment. Her dancers executed flawlessly, never missing a beat even as the stage slicked with rain. Miss Milan fed her energy with perfectly timed transitions. The lights cut through the drizzle like they were carving a movie scene in real time. Everything aligned, everything clicked, everything elevated. Between songs, Doechii paused and addressed the crowd. She said this was the best crowd she had ever had. Normally that kind of statement sounds like typical festival flattery, but this one felt different. It felt real. It felt earned. The audience felt it too. They believed her because she delivered a performance that demanded belief. It became clear to everyone watching that they were witnessing a career-defining moment. The grit, the visuals, the world-building, the vocals, the control, the wild confidence. It was a masterclass in star presence. People weren't just impressed. They were stunned. They were watching an artist level up right in front of them. By the time she left the stage, the question circling through the crowd was no longer about whether Kendrick would deliver a good set. The question was whether anyone could possibly top what they had just witnessed. As Doechii exited, murmurs rolled across the field like low thunder. People whispered to each other, replaying her set in animated gestures. Some were still out of breath. Some were laughing in disbelief. Some were simply standing still, absorbing what had just happened. It wasn't just a performance. It was a shift. But the night wasn't done. The 30-minute intermission before Kendrick Lamar's set built its own tension. Fans pushed closer toward the barricades. They shook mud from their shoes and wiped rain from their faces. They tried to find balance in the sinking field. The cold didn't matter. The discomfort didn't matter. Everyone was waiting for the man many consider the greatest rapper alive. When the lights changed and silhouettes moved behind the curtain, the field erupted. Then the unmistakable opening of whacked-out murals sliced through the night. Kendrick Lamar stepped onto the stage. But instead of matching the explosive theatrical energy he had delivered earlier in the week at AAMI Park, Kendrick did something unexpected. He stripped everything back. He performed with restraint, precision, control. No giant LED displays. No pyro. No big theatrical sequences. Just a razor-sharp, minimalist performance that highlighted nothing but the clarity of his voice and the mastery of his pen. He moved with calm confidence. The rain didn't faze him. The mud didn't matter. His verses were perfectly timed. Breathless. Sharp. Every lyric carried through the drizzle with a kind of effortless authority. Kendrick wasn't trying to outdo anything. He wasn't chasing spectacle. His set felt like a master craftsman showing technique with absolute ease. He was brilliant, focused, disciplined. But compared to Doechii's explosiveness, Kendrick's approach felt like the opposite side of the artistic spectrum. He wasn't trying to take the festival. He was anchoring it. He didn't need to prove anything. His greatness was already secure. And that realization echoed across the crowd. Doechii had taken risks. Doechii had pushed boundaries. Doechii had delivered a performance itching to become a legacy moment. Kendrick was reminding everyone of his foundation. She was redefining hers. By the end of the night, as rain continued falling and the festival began emptying into the dark streets of Ballarat, conversations repeated the same point over and over. People asked whether others had seen Doechii's set. People shouted about how insane it was. People declared she outperformed everyone. The common phrase spoken by thousands of exhausted fans trudging through mud was simple. She stole the show. Spilt Milk 2025 didn't just return. It roared back to life. Not because conditions were perfect. They weren't. Not because the field was comfortable. It was a swamp. But because the artists showed up ready to leave something behind in the mud and rain. And on this night, no one showed up bigger, bolder, or more brilliantly than Doechii. She came to perform. She left as the name everyone was talking about. And that is how Spilt Milk transformed from a festival on the brink of collapse into the night where a rising star walked through a storm, grabbed the moment, and made it entirely her own. This story is far from over, and the truth is still unfolding. I want to hear what you think. Drop your take in the comments. And if you don't want to miss the next twist, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a second of what's coming next.